So we'll begin with today's class. And in the last class, we were talking about provincial elections, and of course, the growth of communalism in India, how it got institutionalized in the form of Muslim League, and then subsequent demand for the Pakistan. Right? We discussed all these things, and I also hope that you read about these things. So today we will be talking about Krebs mission, Quit India movement, and INA. So let's try to break it down. These three chapters, they are important because it is full of so many activities. There are so many underground activities, mutiny, one movement after another, that these three chapters, and of course, because this last chapter, it talks about that how India got freedom and then subsequent partition, so many facts also become important, right? For example, you need to know about the Indian government functionaries post-independence, who was occupying which position, like who was the first finance minister of India. You should be aware about these things, right? And also, why did partition happen? What was the name of the boundary commission? What was Babel plan? Cabinet mission? These things, they are important, and hence these three chapters, they have good volley of question to be put across to you in the examination. Now let's talk about Krebs mission finally. Okay. So in the last class we were talking about that how in 1937 provincial elections they happened, and Congress was able to form their own government in 8 out of 11 provinces, right? But during Second World War, when British government, without consulting people of India, it involved them in the war, the Congress went against British government because, of course, you are not even considering the opinion of people who are working or functioning in the government at the behest of the mass, right? Their opinion should also matter to you, but of course, British government, it did not bother to ask the Indian functionaries. They went without their opinion, and hence, as a mark of opposition, as a symbol of protest, Congress resigned, right? After Congress resigned, there were series of movements, series of activities which were important. One among them is Delhi Chalo movement, which was in 1940. Now, after, it's about nearing the end of 1940, and you remember we were talking about struggle. So now that masses, they have taken rest for about 1.5 to 2 years, it was again time to mobilize them, right? So near the end of 1940, Gandhiji, he began to take steps which would lead to a mass struggle. Again, he was talking about mass struggle. And he thought that a limited satyagraha on the individual basis, because, there is always fear of British authority clamping this down. So why not offer a satyagraha on an individual basis? Because this can encourage other people also to do the same, right? So there would be few selected individuals in every locality, and they would offer individual satyagraha. And Acharya Vinoba Bhave, these facts are important. Acharya Vinoba Bhave, he was first to offer satyagraha, right? And then he was also sentenced to 3 months imprisonment after that. Jawaharlal Nehru, he was the second satyagrahi, and again he was also imprisoned for the 4 months. And these individual satyagrahi, there were other people also involved, and it continued for nearly 15 months. So what was the motive? Why were they doing it? They were doing it because they wanted to show that our patience, the nationalist patience, it is not their weakness, right? They're not doing it because they're weak. It is to show their spiritual strength, and to express people feeling that they are not interested to participate in the Second World War, and they make no distinction. There is no difference. See, British claim that we are fighting against Nazi Germany, right? which is a good thing. But you are so double-faced that you are also ruling India and committing crime one after another here. You're suppressing the individual freedom, liberty over here. You're not giving people a right to freedom. And on the other hand, you're saying that we are fighting the dictatorship. We are fighting the authoritarianism, but you're doing the same thing in India, right? And so by offering individual satyagraha, they wanted to show that people, they understand this. They understand the hypocrisy of the British Empire. They understand that there is no difference between the kind of rule which exists in Nazi Germany and the kind of rule which exists in India now. And also these individual satyagrahis, their demand would be that they want freedom of speech against the war. They want freedom of speech against the war. And Satyagraha, which also called for march towards Delhi, and hence it came to be known as Delhi Chalo movement. So this is about Delhi Chalo movement, individual Satyagraha, and then participation in Second World War without consulting the Indians. This is important. Then as this war situation, it kept on worsening around 1942. The war situation, it went on becoming bad. At that point of time, there was President Roosevelt, who was in USA, and President Chiang Kai-shek of China, right? And Labour Party of Britain, they started putting pressures. We also need to have Indian support if we want to fight this war successfully. You are ruling India, so you should also try to crystallize the power of Indian army when we are fighting against something as obnoxious as the Nazi Germany. So the purpose of the Cripps mission, and for this, Cripps mission was sent to India, right? And it was of course sent by British government in around March 1942. And what was the reason? The reason was that we need Indian cooperation in war efforts. Indians should fight side by side with the British army. That is what they were seeking. And this Cripps mission, it was headed by Sir Stafford Cripps, the minister in Winston Churchill's coalition government in the Britain, and he was heading this mission. And what was the proposal? The proposal was that, first of all, it said that if you support us in the war, we have a certain proposal for you. If you support us, the one would be this, that we will set up Indian dominion, right? And this dominion, which will come up after you are done with supporting us in the war, it would have freedom to remain with the British Commonwealth, or it can go separate from the British Commonwealth. And also you will have liberty to take part in the international organization. So you have freedom to be in or out of British Commonwealth. And then a constituent assembly, we will also form a constituent assembly so that you can chart your own constitution. And this assembly, it would have members which will be elected by provincial assembly, and also certain members, they would be nominated by the princes. You know that how princely states, they were important for the British Empire. They were seen as the bulwark, as some sort of safeguard against the revolt against the Indian people mutiny. And so yeah, charter your own constitution. Chart your own constitution. And any province which is unwilling to join the Indian dominion, they can also form a separate union, and you can have a separate constitution. So you have a freedom to join Indian Union or not to join, right? And this transfer of power and right of minority, it would be safeguarded by negotiation between the Constituent Assembly and the British government. And in this meantime, when all this is happening, until the time you chart your own constitution, it comes into force, India's defense, it would be controlled by the British. And power of Governor General, it would remain same. There would be no modification in it. So this is for the first time. What is the significance of Cripps mission is that this is for the first time British government, it acknowledged India's right to be a dominion. Acknowledgement that India's right to be a dominion. They said that Indians, they could frame their own constitution, and the proposal of giving freedom to provinces to be a separate union, it turned out to be a model for the country's partition in 1947. And also because you have a right whether you want to join British Commonwealth or you do not want to join British Commonwealth, it means that you will get a full sovereignty at a later stage. Now then, see the Cripps mission, it looks all right at the surface, then why did it fail? It failed because this proposal, it was seen as too radical by the British. British thought that we have done so much. And Congress thought you have done too little. And it was seen as too conservative by the Congress. So there is a difference of perception here. And this mission, it was rejected unanimously by Indian National Congress, by Muslim League, and by the other Indian group. And Hindu Mahasabha and liberals, they were also against the right of state to secede. That state, they should not go separate from the Indian Union. They should be a part of Indian Union. And Sikhs also objected because they had a belief that any partition, it would leave Punjab in the hands of Pakistan, and then they would have no choice but to go to Pakistan, right? And depressed classes, they were also not happy because they thought that India is dominated by upper caste Hindu. If suppose India gets freedom, then what will happen to us? Will we continue to be subjugated? Will we continue to be oppressed by these upper castes? And political revolution is happening. We are getting independence, but how about the social revolution? Why are British not talking about it? That we need to have certain safeguard for the depressed class as well. It is also believed that mission failed because there was a lack of support for it by the Viceroy Lilith, and also by the PM Churchill and Secretary of State. So though they, Stafford Cripps drafted this mission, but there was very less support from the British side as well. And why the support was less? Because they thought it is too radical, right? And of course, Gandhi said that this mission, it is of no use. It is a post-dated check on a crashing bank. That was his statement. And hence, this mission, it was a complete failure. So when this mission failed, this fellow, Stafford Cripps, he returned to England. And the Congress, which was led by Gandhi, they started their new campaign, and which is Quit India Movement, and it came up in 1942. So Quit India Movement is Bharat Chodo. It is a very simple but very powerful slogan. And it also became famous, this Quit India Movement also became famous by the name of August Movement or August Kranti. Right? And in this struggle, using the justification of the war effort, the government, it armed itself with a draconian measure. It said that, see, we are already fighting with the Nazi Germany, now you people are also up in arms against us, so we have full power to suppress you. We will use the full military power. If you go out in the streets and if you tell British that Bharat Chodo and we want complete freedom, then we will unleash our military strength onto you, so you better not come out in the streets and do anything against us. So at that point of time, if you do any political activity, it would, even if you're doing it legally, even if it is peaceful, even if it is non-violent, it was deemed to be illegal, and it was deemed to be a revolutionary activity. So, but since the people were out in the streets, why? Because the Cripps mission failed, it offered too less, and also there was a very popular discontent. Whenever there is a war, prices always rise because the entire government financials, the entire government machinery, industry, it is so much invested in the wartime effort that civilian demand, they have very, civilian demand, they are always kept on the back seat. Because when you are at war with the other equally powerful state, then all your resources they get mobilized in the war, including the human resource, including the manpower. And as I keep on repeating, at that point of time, Britain was at war. It was the Second World War, which was rightly called as total war. If you have read the world history, you would know that Second World War, it was far much more in its impact. It was far more destructive, far more intense in its impact as compared to the First World War. So you can understand the magnitude of the situation, right? How badly the British wanted to win. I mean, the British side wanted to win this war. But however, this thing happened, and people thought that British, they're already hypocrite. They're fighting against the authoritarianism, and they're doing the same thing in the India. So the working committee meeting, which held in Wardha in July 1942, Congress accepted this idea, right? And at the meeting of All India Congress Committee at Gowalia Tank in Bombay, and Gandhi, he came up with this slogan, do or die. Karo ya maro, he came with this thing, do or die, right? We shall either free India or we shall die in the attempt, but we will not live to see the perpetuation of this slavery. And of course, you can understand, because Gandhi's word, it used to carry so much influence that people, they were very, very moved. They were literally charged. And the atmosphere, it kept on becoming revolutionary. People kept on thronging in the streets. They kept on demanding for their alleged right, that is freedom. And so many activities happened here, and I'll tell you the few important ones around which question keep on coming. Doesn't mean that you don't have to read the other ones. Read the other ones, but my task is to tell you the more important things. So this movement, because you know that Gandhi, he was arrested, and in fact all major Congress leaders were arrested. So the movement was in the hand of younger leaders like Jai Prakash Narayan, then Ram Manohar Lohia, and of course there were new leaders also like Aruna Asaf Ali. Because there was vacuum of leadership, all the leaders were arrested, so new leaders also kept emerging. Aruna Asaf Ali was there. And there were many towns in United Provinces and Bihar which resorted to Hartal. There were demonstrations, there were procession, and the kind of activities which took place all over India were like that. Students went on strike in schools and colleges all across the country. Students of Banaras Hindu University, they decided to go to villages, and they said that we will spread the message of quit India. They raised the slogan of Khana Jalao, which means burn the police station, station Phuk do, Angrez Bhag gaye. So see, this is the kind of, slogans, they have, good symbolic power. Even if Angrez, they have not fled the country, if you tell these things to people who are already reeling under the oppression of the British, they'll get very charged. And how do you run a successful movement? You run a successful movement mostly based on emotions. Because if you don't have ample military power, if you don't have ample firepower, then what do you have? You have human resource, and then how do you charge human resource? Emotions, right? You appeal to their emotions, you appeal to their intellect. And this is the reason that symbols, the protest slogan, they acquire so much value, right? Because this is how you tell people that, this is your enemy. And every other institution which has been cowed by the British, every other institution is your enemy. Hence, burn the police station. Hence, do not attend their colleges. Hence, do not go to their courts. Hence, do not participate in their, government institution. This is the point. And women, especially college and school girls, they also played a very important role. So in India, during the freedom struggle, the men and women, if you see that women always came out. We never had a movement where women, they are relegated, inside the four walls of a house. They were already playing a very equal, important role. And that is our strength also. Because otherwise what happened is that women, they are considered lesser than men in most of the society, but this never happened in the Indian freedom struggle. We have always treated them at par. So there was Aruna Asaf Ali and Sucheta Kriplani. They were two major women organizations of the underground movement, and Usha Mehta. She is so important. Why? Because Usha Mehta, she ran the Congress radio. She ran the Congress radio. So that Usha Mehta becomes very important. And in some places, like in Balia, it is currently in Uttar Pradesh, under the leadership of Chitu Pandey, and then there was Jatiya Sarkar in Tamluk. Tamluk, it's in Bengal. There, under the leadership of Satish Samant, there was a longest lasting Prati Sarkar under the leadership of Nana Patil in Maharashtra. So what I'm trying to tell you is that in many places there were parallel governments. And first such place was in Balia, UP. So what used to happen is that we were dissociating ourselves with the government. But at the same time, parallelly, we were forming our own government. That we also knew how to govern. Why were we forming our own government just for the heck of it? No. We wanted to show the British that we also have that administrative acumen, that we also know how to govern. We also know how to allocate resources, right? It's not that, that white man's burden. This epithet is real. There's nothing like it. It is just an excuse to prolong their rule in the colony of India. And we people, we are already aware how to govern ourselves. So we are giving you every possible evident example that we dissociate ourselves with anything related to you. We will carve something indigenous, be it clothing, khadi, or be it forming something as huge as a state. Give a setting example. So the movement, it is not only about revolting. It's not only about revolting. It is also about setting examples. And this is how most of the social movements, they happen. Even today, if there is a social movement which targets particular policy of government, it always offers you an alternative. That if policy we are dissociating ourselves with, we are also giving you a new. This is the thing which happen in most of the social movements even now. Though the context is very different, we are independent. But just to tell you that how Indian freedom struggle, it can be located in the domain of social movement. So these are the things which go on. And of course, the role of underground networking, it became very, very important. There were prominent members who were doing this underground work, like Aruna Asaf Ali, Ramanohar Lohia, of course, Sucheta Kriplani, and Biju Patnaik. These people, they became very important. So in around February 1943, right? In February 1943, Gandhi, he started a fast in jail for 21 days. Because, government, it was repressing people very violently, and Gandhi said that I am going on a fast. And he not only refused to condemn the people's resort to violence, but he held the government responsible for it. And in support of the fact that Gandhi is fasting, there were hartal all over the country. And public meeting, they demanded his release. He should be released, and there were newspaper even from the from like across the globe, like Manchester Guardian, New Statesman, New Chronicle, Chicago Sun. They all were saying that it is not fair that you have been incarcerated a leader of such repute in the jail. And the 3 Indian members of Viceroy's Executive Council, MS Ali, NR Sarkar, and HP Modi, they had supported the government in suppression of 1942 movement. But when they saw that, they are not releasing Gandhi out of the jail, even 3 of them resigned. So that was the power. And finally, Gandhiji was released in May 1944. He came out of the jail on the medical grounds, right? When he came out of the jail, then political activity, it again regained certain momentum. And around this time, it is important to talk about the Wavell offer. That what was it? So let's talk about Wavell offer exclusively now. In October 1943, what important development happened? The Viceroy of India was Lord Linlithgow. And in October 1943, it was decided that now Lord Wavell, he will be the Viceroy of India. And before assuming this charge, Wavell, he has already worked as a Chief of Indian Army, so he had some experience before. And after assuming the charge as Viceroy, Wavell's most important task, it was to present a formula for the solution of Indian problem, which can be acceptable to both INC and Muslim League. So regarding that, in May 1945, he went to London and he discussed these things with the British government. And during his discussion and deliberation, there emerged a plan which was known as Wavell Plan. Now, what were the proposals of the Wavell Plan? He said that if all Indian political parties would help the British in the war, then the British government would introduce constitutional reform in India after the war. Introduce constitutional reform after the war, right? He said that Viceroy's Executive Council, it would be immediately reconstituted and number of its members would be increased, and we will have equal representation of high-class Hindus and Muslims. So, Viceroy Executive Council reconstituted, right? And other minorities, which were like low-class Hindu and Sikh, they would be given representation also in the council, so they were also taking care of the depressed caste. He said that all the members of the council, except the Viceroy and Commander-in-Chief, would be Indian, and an Indian would be appointed as a member of Foreign Affairs in the council. However, a British commissioner would supervise him. So if you see, still they are keeping highest position for British. They will be supervising us all throughout. He said that defense of India, it will be in the hands of British authority till power was transferred to the Indian hand. And he also said that, Viceroy, he would convene a meeting of Indian politicians, including leader of Congress and Muslim League, so that they could nominate the names of the member of the council. And if this plan is approved for central government, then same type of popular ministries, it would flourish all across the provinces. And in order to discuss these proposals which he has drafted, he summoned a conference in Shimla, which came to be known as Shimla Conference in 1945. So this was after Wavell Plan that Shimla Conference happened to discuss the proposals drafted by Lord Wavell. And Shimla Conference, it happened in around June 1945, and Congress leaders, they were in the jail. They were released to participate in Shimla Conference, and this marked the end of the phase of confrontation that had existed since 1942. However, Shimla Conference didn't work. Muslim League wasn't very happy with the offer which was put on the platform by Lord Wavell, and hence it was, just a failure like other mission and other proposals. And after this, Indian National Army. Indian National Army is also very important. A lot of facts. Good topic, from which questions can be asked. And Indian National Army is also known as Azad Hind Fauj. Alright, and it was formed for the liberation of India from the British rule. However, it was formed in Southeast Asia in year 1942. And this was by the Indian nationalists and prisoners who wanted that India it should get free. And when Quit India movement it broke out, it also gave a certain dose of encouragement to INA as well. So there were phases in the INA, Indian National Army, and those phases were. So see, initially it was formed under Mohan Singh. Initial founder was Mohan Singh. After the fall of Singapore, and he was a captain in the Punjab regiment in the British Army. these Indian prisoners of war, they were handed over by Japanese to Mohan Singh. And he recruited these Indian prisoners of war in the Indian National Army. And it was also seen by many as a means of checking the misconduct of Japanese against Indians in Southeast Asia. And also it would be a bulwark against future Japanese occupation of India, because we have already requested Japan to release our prisoners of war. We are trying to form an army so that we can get India free due to the help from Japan. It means that we have sort of established a friendly relation with Japan, and it should not attack us, because Japan was a very formidable power. If you are aware, it was a very formidable power during the Second World War. It was the first Asian country to get industrial revolution without repeating any mistake of industrial revolution which happened in the Europe. Japan has a very formidable, strong history. If you are interested in reading about Japan, read about it. It is really fascinating. So by December 1942, the differences emerged between the Indian army officers led by Mohan Singh and the Japanese over the role that what role would INA play. So there was a confrontation between Japan and the Mohan Singh. And Mohan Singh and Niranjan Singh Gill, they were the senior most Indian officer to join INA, they were arrested. However, the first INA under Mohan Singh, it collapsed, but it was revived under the leadership of Subhash Chandra Bose in 1943, which was the second phase. So, Bose, he also approached Russia. He said that, Russia should help us in getting freedom from the Indian struggle. But in June 1941, Russia also joined the Allies in the war. And Bose, he was very disappointed. He said that you're aligning with the British and British are ruling us. He then went to Germany, and then he met Hitler under the name of Orlando Mazzotta. And with the help of Hitler, he formed the Freedom Army, which was known as Mukti Sena. And it was formed, and it consisted of the prisoners of war of Indian origin who were captured by Germany and Italy. So the second phase of INA SC Bose, he took help from Germany. Right, and this second phase of INA began when Subhash Chandra Bose, he was brought to Singapore on July 1943 by means of the German and Japanese submarine. And he was very attracted to military discipline. He was a military man, and he received basic training in the University Unit of Indian Defence Force. Then he went to Tokyo, and Prime Minister declared that Japan had no territorial design for India. We are not going to capture you, so stay. And Bose, he then, returned to Singapore. He set up provisional government of Free India. So in Singapore, Bose, he set up provisional government of Free India. So not only in United Provinces, we were setting up parallel government as far as Singapore. And he set up two INA headquarters. One was in Rangoon and one in Singapore. And then he began to reorganize the INA. So recruits, they were sought from civilians, they were gathered with fund. And there was also a women regiment, which is known as Rani Jhansi Regiment. Rani Jhansi Regiment. And it was commanded by Captain Lakshmi Swaminathan. And she became Sehgal after marriage. So Captain Lakshmi Sehgal. Rani Jhansi Regiment. And one INA battalion, it was commanded by Shah Nawaz. Right? Another one was commanded by Shah Nawaz. And he was also allowed to accompany the Japanese army to the Indo-Burma front, and he participated in Imphal campaign also. And the rule of another great freedom fighter, that is Rash Bihari Bose, it is also very important here. Why? Because if you remember, he fled to Japan in 1914. When his revolutionary activities failed, he went to Japan. And in Japan, Rash Bihari Bose, he even became a citizen there. So he made a lot of effort in getting the Japanese interested in the Indian independence movement. And very, in the beginning, very early on, he was very impressed by Subhash Chandra Bose. And when Indian National Army, it was formed by Mohan Singh initially. You remember the first phase which I was telling, like Mohan Singh, he founded first in Singapore. Then Raj Bihari Bose, he was very happy, and then he left Tokyo for Southeast Asia. He said that, okay, I'm also coming to Singapore. He was very happy, very excited, and it was at a conference in Bangkok. Bangkok was it was under Japanese occupation at that point of time. They decided that we will place INA under Indian Independence League, right? So INA, it would be under Indian Independence League. Wait. And this Indian Independence League, it was headed by Raj Bihari Bose. Right. And so he created this league in 1942 in Tokyo, and it is also worthy of your attention that it was on the organizational work done by Raj Bihari Bose that Subhash Bose could build up the Indian National Army in the second phase. So Subhash Bose, he became the commander of INA in August 1943. And Subhash Bose, who formed the Provisional Government for Free India in Singapore with H.C. Chatterjee. H.C. Chatterjee, he was holding the finance portfolio. So see how meticulous a provisional government. And he, of course, gave the very famous slogan, "Give me blood, I'll give you freedom," which was given in Malaya. And these INA headquarters, they were shifted to Rangoon from Singapore. Rangoon is in Burma. Rangoon in 1944. And the army recruits, they were given a war cry, Chalo Delhi. So that Delhi Chalo is different and this Chalo Delhi is different. Don't get confused between the slogans. And on 6th of November 1943, Andaman and Nicobar Islands, it was given by Japanese army to INA. Very, very important fact. And the islands, they were renamed as Shahid Dweep and Swaraj Dweep respectively. And on 6th of July 1944, Subhash Bose addressed Mahatma Gandhi as a father of nation. So who addressed Mahatma Gandhi as a father of nation? It was Bose. From the Azad Hind Radio, he was the first person to call Gandhi father of nation. And of course, as we all know, or maybe we do not know, he died mysteriously in an air crash. So that is all speculation thing, not required for you to speculate. Now, what was the strategy of the national movement? See, strategy is same, which I always keep on telling you that, which I'm telling you since first class. This is the conclusion that what was the strategy of national movement. One is that we are targeting the structure of colonialism, which is giant, which has a financial arm, which has a military arm, and of course, it has a political arm. And one entity alone cannot target these three, right? You need to have a variety of tactics, variety of measures. So whatever happened in the Indian freedom struggle, whether it was moderate phase, then it was extremist phase, then it was revolutionary struggle, or militant phase, then it was mass phase, then it was a struggle through struggle strategy, and of course there were symbolic power of the slogan. And if you see, INC, it was also having a peasant organization. It was trying to assemble it within the INC. Also, the moderate leader, they were writing various journals, books in the regional language. Why? To have a mass base. Sometime when we thought that British, they are too oppressive, we used to back down and we used to accept whatever was coming our way. We also used to do that, right? So our strategy, it was very fine-tuned. It was very much responding to the developments of the time. And of course, we didn't want communalism to happen, but it happened. It happened also partly because of the British and partly because of the power politics. Both the reasons are responsible because British spread paranoia. They spread fear. They spread hatred. How do they do it? They do it under their divide and rule policy. Because it is very easy to rule people once they are divided, once they are united, once they are rational, once they can think beyond religion, once they can think beyond region and caste, then they can talk about the logical things, right? But don't let them think about these. Just keep them divided. Just keep them, busy in playing this, very petty politics relating to religion, relating to caste. So this was their strategy. And it succeeded also, right? It succeeded. This is the reason that we have a Pakistan as a separate nation state, because their paranoia and fear, it got institutionalized in the form of Muslim League, and Muslim League eventually said we want Pakistan. And you were very much aware what kind of bloody communal riots which took place, right? So our freedom strategy, the strategy of our national movement, whenever, see, first of all, nobody is going to ask you any question from here, right? This is just conceptual, this is just to, pique up your interest in the topic. So whenever somebody asks you about the strategy of national movement, it is always multi-pronged. There is no single strategy, but I must say there were strategies. There is no single strategy, right? There were multiple strategies, and this is like British Empire. It is like Hydra-headed. It doesn't have one head; it is multiple heads. So you also need to have multiple strategies to battle it out. And your entire booklet, our entire previous classes, we were discussing about. We were discussing about the strategies of Indian National Congress, strategies of the British Empire, and what they were doing, simultaneously or in response to each other. And after this, we talk about the man-made famine of 1943. So the Bengal famine of 1943, it was the worst. And there was serious drought, and serious drought was also because of this artificial a deficiency of the food item created by the British. Because what they used to do is that, if you remember, this is also the time when Second World War was happening, and they used to divert food to army. And the rice imports from Burma and Southeast Asia stopped buying because Japan was at war with the Britain. And the famine which happened, of course, it was also weather induced. We had no irrigation facility. Forget about having an agricultural infrastructure. We had nothing, right? We were already going so much backward in the time. And this famine, instead of being controlled by the British, they aggravated the situation. There was a gross mismanagement. So when we say man-made famine, it means that initially the impact of famine, it was 20% on people. It is because of the policies of the British, it got aggravated to 100%. Because they just didn't try to control it. They didn't try to, do anything relating to it. They just let the situation be, and hence too many people died. It is always remembered in history as a blot on the British Empire strategies, the policies to run the Indian colony. So this is about this chapter. Now we will talk about that, what happened after the Second World War, what kind of upsurge was there. Two important things were happening. There was, elections in the Britain and of course in India, and of course there was INA agitation in 1945, which was a landmark. So once the Second World War ended, there was a lot of change in the political atmosphere in India. And of course, there were a lot of changes in other parts of the world as well. And the Labour Party, this Labour Party, it came to power in Britain after the war, because it also said that we want to settle the Indian problem. And it lifted up the ban on the Congress, and it said that we will declare election at the center as well as in provinces. In 1945 to 46, there will be election, and that's what it said. And Congress, of course, it fared extremely well at the polls also, and this party won over 90% general seat, and the Muslim League also was very much victorious in the Muslim constituencies. And this election campaign, it became a very massive exercise in the mobilization of people. and the issues which were taken up, they are very emotional ones, they're very emotive ones. For example, the excesses which happened during Quit India movement. So they used to remind people that, do you remember what happened to you during Quit India? Or do you remember the various excesses, various kind of operation which has been done by British Army on you? So these are the things which was pretty much there. And of course, a major issue taken up in the election campaign, it related to unprecedented repression witnessed against the 1942 movement. So because the 1942 movement, it is very early in your memory also, right? It just happened. So it is very easy to remind people of, what has happened in the recent past. For example, if I tell you this happened 5 years back and this is not fair, and instead if I tell you something which just happened a year back, so this year back thing, it will be more fresh in your memory. And hence the leaders, they resorted to using 1942 movement as a sort of strategy to mobilize people, right? And the second issue taken up in the election campaign was that of members of Subhash Chandra Bose INA, and he was taken prisoner by the Allies and put on trial for brutality and the war crime. And these defense of the INA prisoner, it was taken up by Congress. And Bhulabhai Desai, see, these are important because he worked as a lawyer. Bhulabhai Desai, Tej Bahadur Sapru, K.N. Karju, Nehru, Asaf Ali, they all appeared in the court at the historic Red Fort trial. And in addition to legal help, they also organized an INA relief and inquiry committee and arranged employment for the INA men. Now, this INA agitation, which happened in 1945, it is considered very important on various accounts. One is that this INA agitation was able to have massive public support, right? And in newspapers, they also did their part. They carried the news of Red Fort trial as a headline. And as compared to the other news, this news item, it was given particular importance. There were pamphlets and there were public meetings. So far, so much that INA Day was observed. INA Day was observed on 12th of November 1945. This was celebrated as INA Day. And INA Week from 5th to 11th November 1945. The largest meeting, it took place in the Calcutta, and donations, it came from everywhere, including abroad. Students were very active. Shopkeepers, even shopkeepers, they were so much supportive of it. And this demand that they should be made free, it was taken up at Kisan conferences also, at women conference also. Diwali was not celebrated. So you can just imagine. So you can just imagine the kind of support that these INA prisoners, they had in the psyche of the people. Also because, people were made aware about it through newspaper, pamphlet, and public meeting. If you want to make people aware about something, how do you do it? You organize these three things, people would be impacted. They would be aware of it. And so this is about it. And apart from these, there were other popular upsurge as well. That one I told you, the biggest one was in Calcutta over the INA trial. And then the second also happened at around February 1946, that too in Calcutta, because there was a sentence to Rashid Ali, he was also the INA officer. And third, which is important for you, is that in February 1946, in Bombay, around Royal Indian Navy revolt. Royal Indian Navy revolt is important. It is because, and this happened at HMS Talwar. That was the name. And the officers who were working over there, ratings who were working over there, they went on strike because they were being given a very poor treatment. They were so much fed up of racial humiliation and also food which you cannot eat, unedible food. And the ratings from Talwar, they were joined by those from Castle also, food barracks also. And the rumors also spread that these ratings, they had been fired on. and then hence we need to support it. So the people who were working in the Navy, see, Army was already aware of the ills committed by the British Empire, and now Navy also came in support in 1946. There was a massive movement, and before that, the environment, it was already getting charged because of the kind of mass support we got during the INA trials, right? These three things, even when the Second World War subsided, Quit India movement subsided, the people were not ready to go back to their home and take on life as usual. They were really clamoring for the freedom. The atmosphere, it was heavily charged. Emotions were out there on the display. The people were coming out in the street. Women organization, peasant organization were taking up the issues, which is something so far-fetched for them. Imagine women organization talking about the INA military trial. Peasant organization. Do peasants have got to do anything with the INA army? No. I mean, they are so much far-fetched in their domains. But still, see, when one section of society begins to take up issue of another section of society, then you can be sure that revolution is going to be successful. When people always keep on worrying or keep on revolting about the working in their own domain, about the affairs of their own domain, then movement becomes very restricted. But when people go outside these boundaries of their profession, of their domain, of their personal affair, political affair, then you kind to see a national upsurge which is unparalleled in its character, and that was what was happening in our race to get the freedom for India. Our last topic of the day and also of your booklet is about freedom and partition. So this period from 1945 to 47, it was very volatile. It was full of so many things happening simultaneously. There was anti-colonial popular upsurge and a demonstration against colonial rule, elections which divided the country communally, and there was a decision by British to leave India. And when British decided to leave India, if you remember, and I think you must have or perhaps seen in movies as well, there were communal riots in Bengal and Bihar. And finally, subsequently, because of the way things happened and because of the circumstances, there was acceptance of partition by all the major parties. And when partition was accepted, there was even bigger riots in Punjab. And finally, we got independence which was also marred by partition and communal violence. So that was the problem also. Now let's talk about something which is very important in this regard, and this is cabinet mission, which happened in 1946. So by early 1946, the British authorities, they decided that now the time has come and we have to withdraw from India, because running administration on day-to-day basis, it is getting so difficult in India. Every other day people are revolting, and also because there was a change in the government in Britain also, and that government, it was very much favorable to the proposal that India should get freedom and we can no longer rule it like that. We need to withdraw from this domain. And so British authority, they came to the conclusion that a withdrawal from India was the best option. And in this regard, cabinet mission was sent to India on 24th of March 1946. Why? To establish our national government. It had two tasks, which means interim government. And secondly, to work out a constitutional arrangement for transfer of power. Because there are so many logistics involved, and of course, this is a very messy affair, transfer of power. It might look easy or it might seem easy to read, but it is a really messy affair for sure. Constitutional arrangement for transfer of power. And of course, we have to draft a new framework of constitution because India is going to get independent soon. And when British, they decided to leave, they believed that we no longer need this old policy of divide and rule, and it is no more suitable. First of all, we should not divide people and hence rule them. And a British strategy in the Indian subcontinent after independence, it would be better served if India stands united. We need not divide the Indian subcontinent into India, Pakistan, and then subsequently then Bangladesh also came up, but it was rather subsequently, right? And it was also believed that if India is united, if India as a whole is friendly with the Britain, and then it could be an active partner in the Commonwealth. And if India is divided, its defense potential it could be weak, right? So cabinet mission, it was very much convinced that Pakistan cannot happen. It is not at all viable. And minority autonomy, we will try to safeguard within the framework of United India. That's what cabinet mission say, that safeguard the minority within the United India, right? And what was the reason behind the rejection? Why did they reject the idea of Pakistan? That is because the Pakistan, which would be so formed, it would also include a larger population of non-Muslim. 38% in Northwest they are non-Muslim, and 48% in Northeast they are non-Muslim. So if Pakistan is targeting that it should become a Muslim state, then how do you talk about non-Muslims who reside over there? And there is a significant population. They are not like 0.5%, 1%. They are 38%, 48%. So significant non-Muslim population, what will happen to them, right? And Pakistan, which will be formed, it would also include those districts of Punjab, Bengal, and Assam in which non-Muslim population, it would be very predominant. And there was another issue of disturbance in the regional type, because if Bengal and Punjab, they are partitioned. First of all, there would definitely be rights. And second would be, how do you, draft constitutional arrangement for them? How do you talk about the non-Muslim population which will reside over there if Pakistan is targeting to become a Muslim state? And they also believe that if we do the partition, it will create major economic, political, and administrative problems. So why to harbor this headache? Better do not do the partition, let them stay united. For example, then there would be a problem for the western and eastern part of Pakistan. If you remember, then Bangladesh was eastern Pakistan before, and they had India in between, and then there was again Pakistan here. So how does this part of Pakistan communicate with this part of Pakistan when there is a different nation state in between? So there are issues there, right? And they said that if we divide the armed forces on communal lines, it would be very dangerous. Army or administration, it should never be divided on the communal lines. Because their task is much bigger. And this time, British Prime Minister Clement Attlee. He was a British Prime Minister, and on 15th of March 1946, he said that a minority will not be allowed to place a veto on the progress of majority. Muslims now cannot say that we want partition because we don't feel safe. You cannot blackmail us anymore, because a united India, it is much better than India, which is partitioned into various small nation states. And this was in sharp contrast to the Wavell attitude during Shimla conference in 1945, because at that time Jinnah, he was allowed to have his say, and hence you see the conference, it was rigged. There was no concrete result out of that Congress. And according to this cabinet mission, it said that we can do this thing. We will divide this South Asian subcontinent, this Indian subcontinent, into 3 parts. So the Congress provinces like Madras, Bombay, UP, Bihar, Central Provinces, and Odisha. This is Congress rule, right? This would form grouping. And then Punjab, Northwest Frontier Province, and Sindh. which is not entirely Congress majority, it would go to Group B. And Bengal and Assam would go for Group C. And the common center, there would be a common center. Common center would look after defense, foreign affairs, and communication. That would be common to all three. And a province, it can leave a province could leave the group to which it was assigned. For example, if Madras wanted, it can secede after 10 years, right? This they thought, and both Congress and Muslim League, they weren't too much happy with it, because Congress said that Congress was ruling in Assam and NWF3 also, and why were they placed in section C and B? League said that provinces be given the right to modify the constitution immediately and not wait for 10 years. League said that why are you giving 10 years and wait for 10 years and then you can go separate and then you can draft the constitution? Why are you not giving them right immediately? So League, it was always, very much soaked in fear all the time. Even if you try to do anything in the better way, they will find some sort of paranoia even there. And League also believed that the basis of Pakistan, it is also implied in the mission plan. They said that if cabinet mission, it is dividing into 3 groups, it also means that they are willingly saying yes to the idea of Pakistan. Because this is the reason they're dividing into 3. If they want India to be united, why are they doing this groupism? Why are they dividing states into different zones? They are dividing because they also feel that different states cannot coexist in this united entity called India. And going by this logic, if we extend this logic, if different states cannot coexist, how will Muslim coexist with the Hindu majority nation? It means that by the extended logic, they are also accepting the idea of Pakistan. And League said, fine, we accept this plan. And on 6th of June, because he said that so far as they are saying yes to the idea of Pakistan, when idea of Pakistan it is implied in the mission plan because there's a compulsory grouping, we are fine with it. And despite its shortcoming, of course, there were drawbacks, of course, there were weakness, but cabinet mission plan, it was, we can say, an attempt, a very good attempt by the British to solve the constitutional issue in the India. However, because they were in a great hurry to leave India, they failed to take note of the most important details and created confusion among different factions, leading to different interpretations of the plan. They never tried to clarify the confusion. They never tried to do it because, see, first of all, they are not very much concerned. They just wanted to leave India. Even if India stands partition tomorrow, you know what harm would they be getting? This is all a verbatim thing that no, United India is fine, but they never made any sincere effort to do so in their part. And till the time there was a task of constitution making, there was an interim government. Right? And interim government and communal catastrophe, it went hand in hand. And it was maybe a coincidence also. So after, so first it said that we are going to, support the League thing and all. And like around 6th of August they said it. But, and then again on 16th of August 1946, Muslim League, it took a U-turn. It said that we are withdrawing our support to cabinet mission plan and we are deciding on this direct action day. We want Pakistan now and here. And it announced 16th of August 1946 as direct action day. And they said, Ladke lenge Pakistan. Now they demand it was getting as explicit as it could be. And this declaration of the direct action day by the League and its withdrawal from the acceptance of cabinet mission plan, it created a constitutional deadlock. Now, how should we go ahead with it? Because, we were talking about groups and how come that, a new nation state it is about to emerge. Now, how do we deal with it? What do we do with the regions which are sharing a boundary with this new soon to be emerged nation state? And the government had faced the dilemma that whether we should go ahead and form the interim government with the Congress or we should await that League should also agree to our plan. And we will remember that guy who was in the Shimla conference, he had opted for the second course. He always said that wait for the League. I mean, Congress should not go ahead on its own. the minority should always have a veto. That's what cabinet mission outrightly rejected. And coincidentally, there was a conflict, communal conflict also in different parts of India. It was very bad. Communal riots, it was very bad, and they were initiated from Calcutta. And by March 1947, there were a significant communal riot in Bombay, in Eastern Bengal, in Bihar, in UP, in Northwest Frontier Province, and in Punjab. So, everybody was very surprised, and, British, now they were very scared because Jinnah, by his political tactics, he's already trying to divide the people. So, British, now they were very scared that what if Jinnah, he is able to incite a civil war, what we will do in that situation. And Lord Wavell, he quickly brought the League into the interim government on 26th of October 1946. The League was allowed to join. However, it did not accept the cabinet mission plan, and it never gave up on its policy of direct action day. And Jinnah also realized that we cannot leave the administration and Congress hand. We are already very much paranoid, and we need to fight it. We need to fight it so strongly so that we can secure a Pakistan. And after a very long discussion, it was agreed also that there would be a cabinet of 14. There would be 6 congressmen, 1 Sikh, 1 Indian Christian, 1 Parsi, and 3 out of 5 Muslims they were agreed upon. Not important for you at all to remember about what happened. I'm just telling you so that you know the story. You should just remember when was Direct Action Day, why it happened, when it happened. But after it, these points, they are not at all important for you to remember. Just read them. Just give them a reading. And League's entry into the interim government, it did not end the conflict. In fact, now they became more strong. Now they thought that now we can struggle even more. And interim government, it became their springboard to raise the demand for the Pakistan even more vehemently. And for Jinnah, the interim government, it was a continuation of its civil war only, right? So they were still very much persistent with their demand. And Congress leaders, they raised the objection when League members were sworn in that League cannot join the interim agreement without cabinet mission plan. When League defies the cabinet mission plan, why are you asking League to join it? Right? It makes no sense. And when non-cooperation of the League inside the government, outside the government, it is getting so much restless with its demand, the Congress member decided that either League give up on its Pakistan demand or we will leave the government. And what happened was that on 5th of February 1947, the Congress member of the interim government, they demanded resignation of the League member. So there was an impending crisis. And at that point of time, Bhulabhai Desai, if you remember, he was in INA trial also. He was a lawyer. He was a leader of the Congress. He with Liaquat Ali Khan, which he drafted a proposal which is known as Desai-Liaquat Pact. Right, because they did not want either Congress or Muslim League to resign. They wanted that some sort of settlement they should happen, and they drafted this proposal. They said that there should be an equal number of persons nominated by the Congress and League in the central legislature. Proposal number 1. Proposal number 2, there should be 20% seat reserved for the minority. If minority, it is so fearful. If we think that we are going to, never respond to their demand, then that's fine. Let's address their fear. Let's reserve the seats for them. And there should be some sort of parity between the Congress and the League. And but see, the pact remained pact. Nothing useful emerged out of it. It was a good effort, but it was futile also, because by that time there was no looking back from the idea of Pakistan, right? And Clement Attlee, he was the Prime Minister of the Britain during that point of time. He gave a statement on February 20, 1947. Clement Attlee. You remember the name, even if you don't remember the statement word to word later, doesn't matter, okay? He said that the date for British withdrawal from India, it would be 30th of June 1948. Initially, this was their plan. They were not leaving India on 15th of August 1947. They said that we will leave India on 30th of June 1948. And he made it clear that if by June 1948, Constituent Assembly is not fully representative, which means that if Muslim majority provinces do not join the Constituent Assembly, the power would be transferred to central government, right? If Muslims do not join the assembly. And the British power and obligation vis-a-vis princely state. He said that once we go out of your country, princely state, our power over princely state, it would dissolve, it would lapse, it would be lapse of paramountcy. But these would not be transferred to any successor government. I mean, princely states, they are on their own. Once we leave, it is their decision whether they want to join the India or whether they do not want to join the India. If they want to join Pakistan, if they want to stay independent, whatever they want to do, it's their choice. We have got nothing to do with princely states once we leave. And Lord Mountbatten, it would take over from Lord Wavell in March 1947. Right. So this was about deity, and by fixing the statement, he was trying to tell that we are very serious about our idea of leaving the India. So have no doubt, have no fear, we are definitely going to leave it. So then finally in February 1947, Lord Mountbatten, he came to India and he eventually became the Viceroy. And he put up his plan. He had a plan. He said that on 3rd of June 1947, he put up a plan which included partition of India. And following the Mountbatten plan, India was made free, but by partitioning India. It was the Mountbatten who put forward the idea that we can partition, we can have a partition, and hence we can have two states, that is India and Pakistan. And we will make concession to both the Congress and to the League, and India would be divided, but in a manner that maximum unity it is retained. And League demand we will also hear, we will try to accommodate, we will create Pakistan, and it would be made, as small as possible so that Congress is majorly united and Pakistan is demanding a different, Muslim League is demanding a different state, we will give them a small area. And Congress, it was asked to concede the Indian point, that is unified India. They said that unified India is not going to be a reality now. We will accept your all other demands, but partition seems inevitable. And whether it was ruling out independence for the princes or unity for Bengal or Hyderabad joining up with Pakistan instead of India, Mountbatten supported Congress on all the issues, but he said that partition is going to happen. We cannot do anything about it. And for Britain, they also give us the choice that you have a choice to stay in the Commonwealth, and we are still in the Commonwealth. This is the reason we participate in Commonwealth games. I'm sure you must have wondered that what a Commonwealth game and what significance does it have. If you do not know, try to find out about why India participate in Commonwealth games and how many countries participate and why do only these countries participate in Commonwealth game, and you'll get the answer. But even if we are member of Commonwealth, it is not in the sense which existed prior to 1947. Of course, India is a sovereign country, and now this is just a symbol, nothing else, empty symbol. Empty symbol. So it doesn't carry much meaning now, and you shouldn't take it literally that we are still under British. There's nothing like that even. There's nothing like that now. And so for Britain, dominion status, it offered a chance of keeping India in the Commonwealth, even if temporarily. And Jinnah, he also said that if you give me Pakistan, if Pakistan happened, then I will bring Pakistan into the Commonwealth. And a greatest tool was led by India's membership of the Commonwealth. Since India's economic strength and defense potential, they were definitely more stronger than Pakistan. And Britain also had a great value of trade and investment in India. So what happened during this inevitability of partition is that the member of Legislative Assembly of Bengal and Punjab, they said that you have to meet separately in two groups. one group would represent predominantly Hindu area and second would represent predominantly Muslim area. And if both section of each of these assembly vote for partition, then this province would be partitioned, then Punjab would be partitioned into two, Bengal would be partitioned into two if they vote for it. And once partition is done, there will be creation of two dominion, and these two dominion, they are free to draft their own constitution. And so a referendum was held in the Assam and then also in Northwestern India province. And since the Legislative Assembly decided whether it should join the existing Constituent Assembly or whether it should find the new Constituent Assembly, what it should do. There was so many confusion, side by side. As I told you that administrative matters, they are very messy. Transfer of power, it is a one complex affair. And another important role was played by boundary commission. How do you divide the geographical boundary between these nation states which are about to emerge? And hence they had a commission, boundary commission. Right? So this was set under the chairmanship of Radcliffe. And he was given with this task of demarcating the boundary of the new part of Punjab and Bengal. And Mountbatten, then he announced at a press conference that British would soon leave India for good on 15th of August 1947. Right, this was an early date compared to what it was saying for 30th of June 1948. And one of the major reasons for an early date for withdrawal, it was the desperation of the British because they wanted to see Congress agreement on the dominion status. They wanted Congress to say yes to the Commonwealth, and it was there. And then also another reason was that communal riots, they were rising. And Britain, they very well knew that they cannot hold the situation anymore. So instead of suffering, instead of being the guilty of this bloody communal riot and seeing this bloody violence which is taking between one religion and another, and to save itself from from this guilt and also from this global outcry, it said that fine, we are leaving, do whatever you want to do. Now this communal riot, this or that, this is not due to us. Whatever is happening, we are going, and now you take care of yourself. Fend for yourself. So then the League's demand for creation of Pakistan, it was also accepted to the extent that they now nodded that it will be created. And Pakistan, it would be made as small as possible. And the Mountbatten formula, it was to divide India, but to give maximum unity to the Congress ruled state and hence a small Pakistan. Then Congress also, I mean, what could have Congress done? Circumstance was such. I mean, if partition, it looks very inevitable, then will you just keep on sitting and say, no, we don't want independence till the time you say that Pakistan would not be formed? Will you say united? We have fought so much hard for independence, and if partition looks inevitable, then so be it. What more or what less can be done about it? And hence, then Congress also accepted. So by 1946. It was clear to the Congress leader that Muslims were behind the League as it had 190% of the Muslim seat. So this was one demonstrative impact, right? Because 90% of Muslim seats, Muslim League has won. It means that people were backing the idea, right? This is the reason they were getting the vote. Else, how will they get the vote? And, there was a point of no return. The battle for Pakistan, it was not confined to only ballot box, but it has to be, it was being fought on the streets as well. People were cutting each other. They were slicing each other apart in the name of religion. And communal riots, it literally shook the entire country. And Congress leaders said that if we have to choose between two evils, we'll choose a lesser evil. And the lesser evil is partition. We cannot allow these communal riots to go on indefinitely. This is a very difficult decision to take, but what do? I mean, for how long can you allow people to kill each other? For how long can you bear it? Violence will make you weary, and if you will keep on slicing each other up, chopping each other's head, then how are we going to build the nation state which we have won after a hard-fought freedom struggle? So these are ideas that must be going in the head of our national leaders back then, and these ideas were going indeed, and this is the reason they accepted the partition also. And so Gandhi said that. And at that point of time, Gandhi, of course, if you know that he went on fasting because people, they were killing each other. Muslims, they began distrusting the Hindu, and then Hindus and Sikh also got convinced that mutual coexistence is not possible. We are different religion, we are different entities, we cannot coexist, and hence it is better that if we all have a separate nation state. And it was Hindus and Sikh desire for Pakistan that rendered him ineffective, blind, impotent, and Muslim already considered him their enemy, right? So when different segment of people wanted partition, Congress was left with no option. Congress said, fine, we accept the partition. And the socialists and Gandhi, they appealed to Gandhi that launch a struggle for unity, bypass a Congress leader. And Gandhi said he will wait for the right time, and he indeed went on a fast for a very long time for this, because he was very upset with the kind of with the kind of the shape events were taking place. And finally, on 15th of August 1947, India, that famous tryst over the destiny speech, we got the freedom. And what is important for you to remember is that this is important. See, we will plan, important for you, Shimla Conference, Cripps Mission, Kuwait, India, Cabinet Mission, and first government after independence. This is important for you. Who was occupying which position? Who was the first prime minister? Who was the first deputy prime minister? Who was the viceroy when India got independent? And who was the first governor general till 26th of January 1950? C. Rajgopalachari. Who was the first president? Who was the first finance minister? These things are very important for you to remember. Rest all things, they are very conceptual. And when you read about any committee, when you read about any conference, whether it's cabinet mission or this or that, try to remember who was heading it. Right? Try to remember certain important proposals. See, the moment you will start reading history in the form of a story, and I'm not saying it just like that. Once you are, done with reading it 2-3 times, then most of the things your mind will retain on its own. If you read it like a story, if you understand the things, if you are trying to locate the freedom struggle in the broader domain, that how social movement they function, and our movement, it had a very clear strategy, at least after Gandhiji came on the scene, struggle through struggle. Before that, moderate, extremist, militant nationalism, we have read, and we've also learned about them in the class, like good deal we have learned. You should also focus for your exam on the kind of journals, books, these things you should remember. Underground activities which were happening during Quit India movement, any important date you should remember. So these things, they will come handy to you, and I think concept-wise you must be very clear. And I think, I hope that classes helped you in some bit in learning about the concept that what is economic nationalism, what was the base of economic nationalism, how were British exploiting the Indian masses, what were their financial arm, and what is this concept of man-made famine. If any important woman leader prop up, it is your duty, absolute duty, to Google about her, to learn more about her, because women leaders are very important. And if you see your booklet has certain annexure also, and they have important points from NCERT which you will read, and they will come very handy to you during exam as well. So this is about history, and this is also about, when you read history, you have to continuously put your brain at work. I mean, continue to, discriminate or continue to differentiate what is important from unimportant, what has to be read as a story and what has to be remembered as a point. Because you cannot remember about each and every proposal, about each and every draft which has been put forward. It becomes very unwieldy, right? But if you look at any important point even there, then you have to underline it, remember it. So these are the kind of things which you have to remember, and that's how you have to invest your time. Not too difficult, maybe difficult in some way, but you have a lot of time at you, and like literally a lot of time. And history is one such subject where you are clear with concept, fact, and intelligent elimination. If there are 12 questions, around 10 you should be able to hit correct. Nobody can guarantee 100%, but 10 on 12 should be should be doable. It should be doable. If you have done extraordinarily hard work, then even 12 and 12 should not be a problem for you. Now it's your turn. You answer me these easy peasy questions. So Redcliffe line demarcate the boundary between India and Pakistan. Priyanka, Jyoti, okay, Dhruv. Yeah, absolutely correct. This one. Which came to India after Second World War in 1946? Okay, cabinet. Okay, somebody said A. So A has one vote. Okay. Dhruv is saying B. Answer is B. When did Cripps mission came to India after Second World War? And when did Cripps mission came to India? Somebody tell me this. Yes, very good. And when Cripps mission failed, what happened? After Cripps mission failed to deliver, what happened in India? What was another important thing? Very good, Jyoti. Brilliant answer. It was Quit India movement. Answer me this. Who was the de facto head of the interim government? Very good, Jyoti. Okay, de facto head of interim government of 1946. J.L. Nehru. Jyoti said J.L. Nehru. Priyanka. Okay, great. The answer is B. Tell me this. Which of the following days were observed as, you might not remember this, though I told you this in the class, but these facts and figure, okay. Pradeep says A. Jyoti says A. A. Are you sure, people, that this is 1945? Yeah, okay, you're correct. Somebody also said D. But however, D is not the answer. Tell me this. Who was first to offer individual satyagraha during Delhi Chalo movement? Yes. Right. Right. It's Acharya Vinoba Bhave. Tell this. Who ran underground Congress radio during Quit India movement? This you must remember. Usha Mehta. Yes. Absolutely. Usha Mehta is the answer. Who among the following leader is not associated with Indian National Army? None. Very good. Because all of them were associated. Can somebody tell me that how was Ras Bihari Bose associated with Indian National Army? And how was Lakshmi? Actually, Lakshmi Swaminathan was heading what? Any idea? What was Lakshmi Swaminathan heading? She was... Yes, what was the name of the regiment? What was the name of regiment? Name. Yes, it was Rani Jhansi regiment. Very good. And Shah Nawaz was also there. And Ras Bihari Bose, he led the foundation on which the building of INA was laid. So Ras Bihari Bose, he was an important figure. Tell me this. Which day was declared as Direct Action Day by Muslim League? Okay, great. Yeah, these answers. Tell me this. Two independent states of India. India and Pakistan were treated by Shimla Conference. How can it be Shimla Conference? Shimla Conference was a failure. Indian Independence Act. It is due to this that India and Pakistan were created. This is the answer. Not Shimla, not Cripps, neither cabinet. Indian Independence Act is the answer. Which among the following was not a call made by Gandhi during Quit India movement? Okay, Jyoti is saying B. Priyanka, B. Pradeep, A. However, the answer is B. Gandhiji never said soldiers that they should leave their posts. He never addressed them. He never addressed those things. But yes, he asked government servants to dissociate themselves from the British, and hence they should declare their allegiance with the Indian National Congress, which was a leading party for leading the struggle for Indian freedom, right? He said, "We will not shoot on our own people." Yeah, right, but he didn't ask soldiers to leave their post, right? He never asked for this. See, there is something which is being said explicitly and something which is being said implicitly. And there were soldiers who were fighting for the British side as well. And Gandhi never asked them to do not do this or do not firing is one thing, but asking explicitly that you leave your post. Even if you're asked to do not shoot them, are they asking them to leave their post? Are they asking them to resign from the profession? That did not happen, right? Okay, tell me this. Which region was the first to form parallel government? Balia, yeah. And what was the name of that fellow? Yes, Dhruv, you're right. What was the name? Chittupande. Yes, yes, very good, Jyoti. The name was Chittupande. Okay, this. Which among the following was not a member of cabinet mission? C, yeah. Because Redcliffe was the head of Boundary Commission. And hence C is the answer. So, all right, guys, I hope you had some learning time here and focus on your studies well and do well in your exams. And thank you so much for your time in the class and take care, study well. Bye-bye.